friends, it's just Martine, and today we're going to be doing a bargain book face-off, or bargain book battle, I don't know, something like that. The point of this is to pick a book from various methods where I get my books for cheap or free, and then pit them against one another to see who comes out as the winner. So today I have a book from a free little library at the Dollar Tree, obviously, one that was loaned to me by a family friend, one that was passed down to me from a previous reader, and then one from a used bookstore. So let's jump straight in and see who wins. For my free little library pick, I picked The Invoice by Jonas Carlson. This is a translated work and quite short, so it did not take me long to read it, but I enjoyed it significantly. I'm giving it 4 stars. This is a very interesting book about the simple joys in life. Basically, it follows this main character whose name I've already forgotten, who receives this incredible invoice for like 5 million kronor? I don't know how you pronounce it. The Swedish money. Anyway, so it's a lot of money, and he's like, what is this invoice? And it turns out the world has decided it will collect the amount that people owe it for like the experiences that they've had in life, and his invoice is significantly higher than like everybody else's. So it's his journey of figuring out why. It was so pleasant being inside this main character's head, like the way that he thought about the world and enjoyed things was so wonderful. And this just had a lot to say about the types of experiences that we have in our lives, the good, the bad that is actually good, the good that is actually bad, etc. So I liked this, and I'm glad that somebody left it for me to pick up, and now I'm selfishly going to keep it. I recommend this. It was good. A good life lesson. And I love me a translated work, almost always, so winning. For my borrowed book, I read March, which is technically, it's not necessarily a prequel, it's kind of a companion to Little Women. In some senses, it turns back the clock and looks at a time before all the little girls were born or when they were younger, but in another sense, it runs parallel to the events of Little Women, because this is actually told from the perspective of their dad while he is serving as a chaplain in the war. And so we look back at his life before he ever met Marmee, and then once he's met Marmee, before the girls are born, and then what it's like when the girls are born. But we're also seeing what his experience is like as he's going through the war experience, and we see the illness that of course is mentioned in Little Women. We see Marmee go to take care of him. It was definitely very interesting. I'm pretty sure it won a Pulitzer Prize. It was definitely like an interesting idea. I don't think I would have ever come up with that conception. I don't think I liked it as much as Little Women. I mean, I know I don't, because I gave it 4 stars. I gave Little Women 5 stars. On the other hand, I felt like it definitely added something to the story, and I thought the author did such a good job of weaving details, whether they were like historical details or whether it was details from the book Little Women itself. I thought the author did such a great job integrating a lot of sources of information while still creating a rich story of their own. So if you really love Little Women and you want like a slightly different perspective on the story, then I definitely recommend this. For my book that was passed down to me, or that I inherited, or etc., I chose The Floating City by Pamela Ball. The descriptor under the title is a novel of 19th century Hawaii, and that's exactly what this is. This book follows this fortune teller. She's originally from Norway, and she's changed her name and moved to Hawaii. We're at the part in history in Hawaii where America and the royalists are fighting, and one day she's down fishing with a bunch of other women, and they find a dead man, and basically she's chosen to report it to the police because she's white. And so this book is following her as all these events are taking place, and we see her connection to these events, and we see the rich tapestry of a historical Hawaii, which was incredibly interesting to read. The police are keeping a really close eye on her because her answers about the dead body don't make much sense. Overall, I am glad that I read this, but I do have to say the writing style was floating a bit in and out of present day, and so I got lost several times, like distracted, and then I wouldn't know exactly where we were because suddenly we'd be in a flashback, but I didn't realize we were in a flashback, so then it was confusing. I'm giving this 3 stars overall. It was a positive experience. I do enjoy historical fiction, but I feel like oftentimes the like hyped historical fiction books are about like one period of history in one part of the world, and so it's nice to read a completely different historical fiction than that. And I thought this was also a helpful like mental exercise to think about, particularly states like Hawaii and how they were acquired. So this left me with a lot of things to think about, and I enjoyed my time reading it. For my Dollar Tree pick for this bargain book face-off, I chose Tin Man, because when I hauled this, I specifically said that when I saw it, I freaked out. I was so excited to read it. And this lived up. It was not a 5-star book, unfortunately, but it was a very strong 4-star book. This is exactly the type of literary fiction that I adore. So it's about these two men, Alice and Michael, and when they're young, like when they're 12 years old, Michael moves into a place nearby and they become really, really, really close. Not just in entirely friendly ways, but where we are when we start is Ellis is an adult and he was married to this woman, Annie, and now Annie and Michael are both dead. And so he's grappling with his life after them, and we're learning about what happened with him and Michael in between the time that they were 12 and his marriage to Annie, and then the time when Michael disappears for a long while, I think it's a couple of years, when they're young adults. So this is great. Good discussions on LGBTQIA plus population, especially around the time that like this is set and some of the things that they struggled with. This book does cover the topic of HIV and AIDS, and that has always been something that I've found to be impactful in art that I've consumed, and this was no different. This book is told in two perspectives. We have Ellis in the present day, and also him having like flashbacks within that present day timeline, and then we have some of the perspective from Michael in the lost time. I really, really enjoyed it in the way that the book kind of rotated around this one particular painting. It was just, this was a joy and like heart-wrenching in the best way, and I really, really liked it, and so I'm glad to have this in my collection for sure. So for my used book, I read Breath Eyes Memory. I'm giving this 3.5 stars. On the whole, I really enjoyed this, but there were some things about it that I maybe didn't like. Of interesting note, the main character's mom in this is named Martine. I was like, what? That's not even mentioned on the synopsis on the back. I just picked up this book. I was interested in it because of the synopsis. Nowhere did it mention that one of the characters has the same first name as me. Wild. That happened on accident. Anyway, this is really interesting because it's the story about this girl. She grows up in Haiti, and then her mom isn't with her. She lives with her aunt, and her aunt largely raises her. Her mom ran away because of like trauma reasons. Anyway, then we start the book at the part where the mom is asking for the daughter to go to New York to live with her, and things go from there. And so it's largely a story about like the relationship that a person has with their mom and how trauma impacts that. Also stuff about generational trauma and purity culture and all of those things. Lots of trigger warnings in this, so look those up if you're at all interested. I think there were parts where like, it didn't drag, I would say, because this was overall like a really quick read. It read so quickly, but on the other hand, like there were parts that I was like, what is this adding to the story necessarily? I'm still not fully sure I like got the entire point of this. There were things I did get about it and stuff, but there were lots of things that I did love about this, and I do think that it gave like a great snapshot of culture in Haiti, and I really loved the conversations about like Creole as a language, and I thought that was interesting seeing it like written, and especially like because I know French, like comparing the two and stuff. So that was all interesting. Still a good time with this, just not like my new favorite thing. Okay, so there were no standout 5 stars in this, but I do think 2 of my 4 stars stood out amongst the others, and that was the one from the Free Little Library, The Invoice, and then the one from Dollar Tree, Tin Man. Those 2 are my winners, but I do have to say that this is not representative of like every book that I get from a different source, because books are always either hit or miss no matter where they're from. So I have read books that were loaned to me by friends this year that were 5 stars or something, that were even better than some of these books from other places here, etc., etc. But for this particular round of books, the Free Little Library wins. I think that's a rare occurrence for the Free Little Library, so it will take it. And then the Dollar Tree, which feels like vindication. Victory! If you like this video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up and comment down below, where are all the places where you get cheap or free books, and would you ever pit those places against one another to find your best read? And subscribe for more reading, writing, and college lifestyle content. And until next time, bye humans, bye!